My name is Laura Wilson. Today we are going to be talking about using the internet safely for kindergartners. You might be wondering, what is the internet? The internet is a place where you can learn new information on your computer. There are many resources for research on the internet. In our classroom, we have used books for research, but you can also use the internet. There are a lot of sources on the internet for research. When we play Gigi in the computer lab or in our classroom, or when we play Starfall in our classroom, we are using the internet. You've used the internet without even realizing it, probably. You've probably even seen your parents use the internet at home, on their computers or on their phones. A lot of adults use the internet in a lot of different ways. The internet is like a neighborhood. Earlier this school year, we talked about neighborhoods and the different things you find in a neighborhood. Instead of having stores and other locations like libraries and schools, there are different websites on the internet, and that makes the internet neighborhood. Many of the locations in your neighborhood probably have their own website. Our school has its own website, the library has its own website, and even the stores that you go to probably have websites. All of the websites work together to create a network of people and information for other people to use. You might be wondering, how can I use the internet? If you want to use the internet, make sure that you ask your teacher or parent first. It's important for your safety. Only go to websites that your teacher and parents have taught you about, like the ones that we use in the classroom. And if you have heard about a new website that you think you can learn from, like if you've heard about it from a friend, then make sure you ask your teacher or parents if they think it's the right fit for you before you go to that website. Some websites that are good for kindergartners are STMath, or Gigi as we call it in our classroom. You can also use Starfall at home like we use it in our classroom. You might need to set up an account for Starfall though, and make sure you run that by your parents if you're going to use it at home. For STMath or Gigi at home, your password that you use at school will work just fine at home, but you will probably need a code to enter into your computer to make sure you can use it at home, and you can ask your parents for help with that. I've provided them with the code that they need. I also have my own classroom website that you can go to. It's mostly for your parents, for information for them, but there is an About Mrs. Wilson page where you can find a picture of my husband and me and learn more about us. And you can also find your sight words on my website if you want to practice your sight words at home. And believe it or not, the library in Gilroy has its own website too. And if you click on this URL, you can find the website for our library. You might have heard people talk about email. What is email? Email is a way to communicate with other people on the internet. If you're a good reader, you could ask your parents to help you set up an email address. It's a really great way to keep in touch with friends and family who don't live nearby. For instance, I have family in Japan and Malaysia, and when I was a kid, we didn't have email, and we had to write letters to each other, and it would take 2 weeks to get a letter from each other. But now, with email, I can contact them, and they can get the email the same day. Make sure, though, that you don't set up an email address without your parents' permission first. You need to make sure that that's okay with mom and dad before you do it. You might be wondering, what do I do if a stranger contacts me on the internet? Well, you would do the same thing that you would do if a stranger talked to you in person. You would want to tell a parent or a teacher right away before responding. And if you're not sure whether or not someone is a stranger, if they seem like they might be familiar but you're not sure, always check with a responsible adult before responding. Ask mom or dad or ask your teacher. So to review, the internet can be a fun place to learn. You can use the internet to do research and communicate with others. And make sure you always ask an adult before going somewhere new on the internet. This is a list of the source that I used to come up with this presentation. If you're interested in learning more about how to safely use the internet, you can go to this website and find out more as well.